I think last week I was just telling my friend that sometimes 24 hours is not even enough for me, because you just see yourself battling with so much at the same time, because you have a lot of deadlines to meet, you have so many things to do, and the time is not even enough. And yes, we just have 24 hours, and out of these 24 hours, you have to make everything to work. You have to make everything to work. So how can we make it a little bit easier so that you don't find yourself like me struggling with those 24 hours that seem not to be enough? Because honestly, for me, at some point there are weeks where 24 hours is not even enough for me to get by, and I believe that there are some people out there that can relate to what I'm talking about, because sometimes work can get real chaotic. You're trying to balance your personal life with your work life, you're trying to balance the deadlines, the endless to-do list, and so many things that you've got to put to place, and you are not going to come up with excuses at work saying, oh, because I have something to tend to, I could not finish what I was supposed to do, I couldn't meet up with the deadline. Nobody's going to listen to all of those excuses. So you just have to find a way. And for me, I would say finding a way is looking at how to manage your time efficiently. Yes, and there are some hacks that you can actually put into consideration, and this is the point where I get to intimate you about what you need to know or how you need to go about it. Some of those things that will help you manage your time properly. And if you're wondering what hack means, it's like something to help you do something easily, like a way of trying to help you do something easily, like normally, maybe not the normal way that every other person is doing it, something that will help you go by easily. So maybe if every other person was doing it the other way, you would just find a way of doing it quickly. So this is the point where we get to change the whole narrative of you struggling with your time, or you trying, your time is controlling you, your day is controlling you, instead of the other way around. So it's time for you to take control of your time with some powerful time management hacks that we will be unveiling here in a short while. So please stick around, because we are going to go very practical. I'm going to give you some easy to apply tips that will help you work smarter and maybe not harder, because I think some people will say that's a conversation up for debate. Do you work harder or do you work smarter? Well, that's a conversation for another day, but let's dive right into the conversation for today. Now let's talk about the hacks, right? Time is one resource we all have the same amount of, yet somehow some of us seem to always run out of it faster than others, because like I was saying earlier, 24 hours for some of us is not even enough. And sometimes at the end of the day, you're wondering, what exactly did I even do with my time? Because we are not managing that time appropriately. We are probably overusing the time, or we are underusing the time. So this is where we get to understand how we can control our schedule and control our day, and not our day controlling us. So now the first hack I would recommend is prioritizing. Yes, there is so much power in prioritizing your stuff. Like, what is supposed to be first? I remember my economics teacher would say this thing in economics, where they would say scale of preference. Yes, I would never forget that, even though I was not really a fan of that, but somehow there was something I picked up from that particular class lesson that we had, scale of preference, where he would say sometimes is your opportunity for God. You have to pick some, you have to let some go. The ones that have to be at the top will come first, those that matter will come first, and those that are not of much priority will be last, depending on how you are prioritizing them. So I would say that this is not also different. You need first of all start by identifying the tasks that really matter. For instance, what is supposed to go, you are in your workplace, and maybe your boss says you should do this, and then you know that you're supposed to be on air at the time. If your boss says you should do something, I'm using on air because I work in a radio space, right, in the media space. So let me just use this example. Maybe your boss says you should do something else that is not really pertaining to you going on air at the moment, and you have a show at 1 p.m. How do you prioritize preparing for your show, and then also meeting the assignment that your boss has given to you? That is where you get to prioritize it. because you're already calculating in your head that, okay, I have to do this one that my boss has asked me to do, but at the same time I know that I'm going on air in a few minutes. So if I start working on what my boss has asked me to do, it's definitely going to interfere with air. So what do? I'm going to prioritize going on air, because people are already on the other side waiting to hear your voice anytime soon. So you are going to prioritize that. Yes, you're going to identify the fact that going on air at that time is more of a priority. You are dividing your tasks into categories, and there is a tool that people would always recommend, the Eisenhower metrics, which is you basically dividing your tasks into 4 categories: the urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. This will help you focus on what actually moves the needle in your work day. Yeah, when you categorize your activities in the urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. Imagine you know that you have to go to the market after your work day, and to get maybe to stock up the house or something, and then you're thinking about that when you're in the office. You know it's not going to work, right? It's definitely going to interfere with your duty, because you cannot leave work and go to the market because you have to stock up your house. Yes, is it important for you to buy what you need to buy for the house? Yes, it's very important. But is it also very important for you to plan how to do that so that it doesn't interfere with your work day? That is the part where you get to understand that, yes, you will go to the market the moment you close by 5. For those who do the 9 to 5, you close by 5 o'clock, and then you're trying to get your way to the nearest market so that you can meet up that task for the day. But something came before the other, which is your work. You prioritized your work before the market runs. Even though you know that the market runs is important, it is not as urgent as the work needs, or whatever you are supposed to do, your obligations in the office. So it's about you knowing what's urgent, what's not urgent, what is important, and what is not important. This way you are more focused on trying to see what really matters, and that way you are supposed to, you are able to tackle those that actually matter first. And now let's talk about another hack that I would recommend that actually works for me, is the one we call, time blocking. Time blocking has been identified as one of the most efficient ways to manage your day. Now, the concept of time blocking is simple. You dedicate specific chunks of time to specific tasks or projects. For instance, you set up your day. I think these days that we have smartphones, it's quite easy, right? Maybe you have a journal or you have an organizer on your phone, and you write, okay, 30 minutes, let's say from 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. I'm going to reply emails or respond to emails, and then you're going to take an hour after that to brainstorm new ideas, and you take some break, and then maybe 45 minutes to put in your report, maybe your report for the week, and submit. Maybe if it's on a Friday, you're trying to put in your report, maybe you're head of a department, you're trying to put in your report and then submit it. You know that you have, after your rest time, you have at least 45 minutes to put that report together and submit it. So by giving each task its own time, you are preventing distractions. You know that when it's time for this one, nothing is going to interfere. Regardless, you're going to give your time, and you're going to keep that momentum like that, because you are trying to block any distraction. So that is where the concept of time blocking actually comes to play, where you set aside specific chunks of time to specific duties or specific tasks or projects, as the case may be. So this is one hack that has actually worked a lot. I do not know, but I am just recommending it. Maybe you should try it sometime to see how you can schedule your day like a boss, because time blocking has been established as one of the really most effective ways of managing your day. And now let's talk about the fact that I know this one is really, really controversial, might be controversial, because imagine you saying no to your boss. There are so many ways you can say no to your boss, but politely. I'm going to teach you now. I know that some people find it really difficult to say no. Even in our private spaces, we cannot say no to people. Talk more of when you are in the office. Imagine you saying no to your boss. But it's important to say no. What you can do you can do. What you cannot do at that time, you cannot do it. Let them know you cannot do it, so that someone else will handle it, instead of trying to pack everything to yourself and then you find it difficult to manage your time and even deliver as when you're supposed to deliver. So I would say that this might be like one of the hardest, but it is actually the most important time management hacks. Learning to say no. Yes, you might be feeling obligated. Of course, you are supposed to be obligated to every request, every favor, and all of that. But imagine you're supposed to be on air and there's always telling you that there's something that you need to do. Maybe you're supposed to write something, or maybe write a script or something, and then you're supposed to be on air. You have to politely say no, or maybe you shift it, you postponed. You tell them that you do it after you are done with what you have been able to prioritize, because you have already set your scale of preference where you already have something that is on top of that ladder, and it really cannot go down because it has to go at that moment. I'm not saying you cannot compromise, you can compromise, but there are times that it is very necessary for you to say no. So learning how to say no is one of the most effective time management hacks. Don't try to feel too obligated and then you say yes to the task, and when they give it to you, you cannot do it because obviously it doesn't align with your goals or add value to your work. Please politely decline or delegate it. Yes, this is one thing that so many of us miss in our workplaces. We want to do everything so that we take all the praises, all the glory and honor. It doesn't work that way. If you cannot do it all, and that is why it is a team. Learn to delegate. You can ask a colleague to help you, or you can politely decline. And the key word there is politely. Sometimes the body language you use or even the manner of approach will determine how they are going to take that message. So in the process of learning to say no, in the process of you trying to say no, you have to be polite about it. And now let's talk about the other hack, which is, kind of, should I say, a bit of what I touched on earlier about the fact that you have to delegate. Yes, you have to delegate and then automate. I hear people say, oh, people who use AI are not intelligent. People who use AI before. See, just take advantage of technology. It's there to make life easy, honestly. Because if you had it all, or if you were so much of a superhuman, you will not be using iron. You will not be using washing machine. You will not be using a gas cooker. You'll be using charcoal. You will not even be using what else? You won't even use the vehicles that you ride to work. You drive to work and all of that. You'll basically be tracking. So if you can use it, then why not? Go ahead and use it, because you trying to say, oh, there is nothing wrong in you depending on your knowledge. Of course, it helps you be yourself, but at the same time, don't be afraid to use technology to your advantage, honestly, because there are so many applications out there, especially now in this time of artificial intelligence where things have been made really easy. Please try to see how you can take advantage of AI. Yes, artificial intelligence. And then also some other applications that are there. I even mentioned one that we call it the journal, which is on the smartphone. For people who use smartphones, you would see that you have your journal, you have your organizer, your alarm is there. You don't even need to have a smartphone for you to have an alarm. Even the touchlight phones have the alarm. You can take advantage of that. See how, okay, for instance, you are a social media manager and you are not going to be available. Maybe you want to sleep or you want to take a nap, but that post that you're supposed to upload on the page of your organization has to go at that time. You can automate it. Yes, you can set a reminder. You can automate. You can schedule your post, especially your uploads. Even on YouTube, you can schedule your post. Once that time is just that time, you see that it goes automatically. Everything is made easy at this point. So if there is so much on your plate, try to see how you can ask for help. There is nothing wrong in asking for help, but another thing is how you ask for that help will determine how that person would help you and how you would get that help next time. So please just try to be very strategic about it and try to ask for help, because there's nothing wrong in asking for help, but how you go about asking for that help will determine if you're going to get that help. Now another one I would say is the point where you get to, if you are going to work for 25 minutes then take a break, right? Try to take breaks. Don't try to do everything at once. I'm not saying that there is a way you take your breaks that it's not obvious that you are moving out of your space, right? You can still be within your work, let me say your workstation. You're still where you are working, your place of assignment, but you are still trying to take breaks. So for instance, you are working for 25 minutes. It's okay for you to take a break mentally to help you refocus, to help you energize, especially when you are supposed to do very long tasks. It's important that you take those mental breaks. Nobody has it all, like nobody has it all together. It's important that you learn how to take breaks. Taking breaks help you to manage your time effectively. But when you want to carry everything all along, you will discover that you end up being tired, you are fatigued, and you end up not achieving anything at all. And I think you've heard the saying where they say that a jack of all, you are a jack of all trades, you end up being the master of none. You really cannot do everything all at once. It's not possible, no matter how good you are. Yes, you can multitask, but in the process of multitasking, it's also very important that you take your breaks, you take your rest mentally. It's very important for you. And then the other one I would say that is very important, one thing that we say it often, but we don't get to apply it, is where we have to set clear daily goals. Yes, when you're about to step out of your house, what is that goal you've already envisaged that you're going to achieve once you get to the office? What is that thing you're planning to do? How soon can you get to the office for you to achieve that? How are you planning to achieve your daily goals, right? And I would say the first step for me would be writing down your goals. It gives you a sense of direction. It helps you to stay focused because you are going back there and ticking it. It's just like when you're going to the market, you have your market list, and no matter what happens, you are not going to deviate from that list because you know that somehow the money you have in your wallet, in your purse, is for what is on that list. So no matter how enticing those other things in the market are, you're not going for them because you already have a list. So as you buy one, you tick. As you buy one, you tick. And I think that also applies in you setting your daily goals. So when you're very clear and definite about what you want to accomplish for the day at work, you will write it down. You break it down in sections. Maybe if it's about reports, let's say research or even editing, depends on the type of work you're doing. Just write something down. That way it gives you a clear focus of how your day is going to be run. And then at the end of the day, you review what you have accomplished and then you adjust your plan. And another part I would say is don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay for you not to accomplish everything, right? It's okay for you not to accomplish everything, but you should always aim to accomplish at least half or more than half of the goals that you have set each day. That way it helps you to adjust your plan. It helps you to take an assessment of everything you've been able to accomplish. But don't be hard on yourself if you've not been able to accomplish anything. Because remember when I said that if you try to be the master of all, when you try to be the jack of all trades, like everything is you are going to end up being the master of none because you are not going to do everything efficiently. Remember, the key word is about you being effective at your work and you being efficient at your work. That is the most important thing. It's not about you doing everything. When you're doing everything, are you being efficient? Are you being proficient at what you're doing? That is what brings about the productivity. That is what brings about the results, right? So it's not about doing so many things at a time. It's about you being productive at what you're doing. Alright, you're still tuned and listening to the Workstation on Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, your radio experience you can always count on. I am Cassandra, your media chick, and so far I have been reeling out some hacks, or what people would say tips, that would help you to go by, especially in your workplace. Time management hacks, because time is one resource that, even though it's given to all of us equally, not everyone gets to use their time equally. For some people, it's never enough. For some people, they have so much of time to give. But if you are in the work environment, you will understand that sometimes even 24 hours is not enough for you to accomplish so many things. Now, the last one is the part where I get to say review and reflect at the end of each day. Yes, try to spend, at least 10 to 15 minutes of your workday reflecting on what you have been able to accomplish. Remember I talked about the fact that it's okay for you not to accomplish everything at once. It's fine. But try to take an assessment. Ask yourself, what did I finish today? What can I carry over to tomorrow? Like, how consistent have you been in finishing your tasks? Like, accomplishing at least more than half or even half of the percentage of what you're supposed to do. And then you go on to ask yourself, what went well and what can I do to improve? I think this, reflection gives you a sense of control over your time and your schedule, and it allows you to adjust your priorities for the next day. So you know that as you're going to work, you know what you're spilling over to the next day, you know what you have been able to accomplish in the previous day, and then you have a sense of closure, and it makes it easy for you to transition into your personal time, that you are able to manage what you did. And by this time, I think it makes you really a dependable person, because when you say this is when you're going to do it, this is when you're going to accomplish it, and every other person from your bosses to your colleagues, they know that yes, you are a dependable person. And if they tell you that this is when, if you tell them this is when you're going to do it, this is when you're going to do it, this is when you're going to deliver, this is when you're going to deliver. So just try to review your time, try to review your schedule, and then also reflect at the end of each day what you've been able to accomplish. And don't be hard on yourself if you have not been able to accomplish everything, but always strive to accomplish at least half or more than half of what you have outlined as your plans for the day. Remember, having a clear definition of your goals for the day is a way to go by. It's a very important hack for you managing your time. I hope that this has been able to work. I hope that you'll be able to manage your time effectively and see how you can re-strategize and see how you can do so much even within a short time, and try not to squeeze in everything. Yes, it's okay for you not to do everything at once. Remember, it's not about squeezing more into your day, but it's about making the most of the time you have, and then for you to be more productive. Because in a workplace, whether it's your employer or the person you're working with, what they are looking at is productivity. What they are looking at is result-driven productivity. Yes. So you need to work towards that productivity. And I believe that implementing some of these hacks would help you to do much more than you have already been doing. And I believe that it's going to give you a little peace of mind. You're not going to be running all over the place that, hey, you're running out of time, or you're not able to fix this, you're not able to fix that, and time is going. So I'm hoping that some of these tips or hacks are going to help you be that work boss. I'm not saying you are the owner of the workplace, but I mean you're going to own it. You're going to own your time. You're going to be a time boss, and your time is not going to be the one controlling you. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Workstation. I'm hoping that next week we are going to return with another captivating episode of the program right here. Please stay tuned and keep listening to The Sunny Side, because up next we are going to have the Girlfriend Show, and all of the ladies are already in the house, and we cannot wait to have all of the gangarious conversations right here on radio. Please enjoy the rest of the moments. I am Cassandra, your media chick. Enjoy.
We play those songs. The good tune.